to a-tetewithdaseny.
Hello everyone, I'm Daseny and I welcome you to this week's episode of Tete with Daseny. Yes, if this is your first time on this podcast or in this channel, please subscribe, like and share. Don't forget to click on the notification button, yes, and kindly listen to our previous episodes. So if you're ready, I am ready, and I hope you will enjoy today's ride. Yes, we'll be discussing dyslexia, and it is a learning difficulty that impairs a person's ability to read and write. Now, it affects the way that the brain processes written materials, making it difficult to recognize, spell, and decode words. Now, it is safe to say that dyslexia is a neurological problem, but it doesn't have any way of affecting one's intelligence. Yes, for the fact that a person has a condition of dyslexia doesn't mean the person is not intelligent. And this condition is very common because research has shown that about 5 to 10% of the population have this condition, and then further research reveals that it is prevalent in 17% of a population. So one might be saying, okay, maybe it doesn't affect me. Hey, it affects adults, it affects children, but it shows at a child's early stage. That is, it is easier for one to diagnose it when a child is quite small. It's easy to handle such. And how do you know that a child is having this condition? Now, the child's inability to hit his developmental milestone, like crawling, walking, if there's a little delay, or if there's a delay as in the child being able to hit all these milestones, please, you need to take that child for checkup. And then learning to speak, if the child takes longer period to speak, please, that calls for attention. And then we have reading, and then we have writing. When the child finds it very difficult to recognize sounds, and even if he recognizes the sounds, writing them is now an issue. Maybe the child writes matter instead of water. The child is trying to write water, but in his head he has written water, but physically what you can see is matter. Please, you need to take that child to seek help. And then the child's inability to process sound. Let's say, for example, if a word exceeds more than a syllable, now let's say we have unforgettable. That's even long. The child just says maybe unforget, and then he leaves the table for you. You pronounce it by yourself. As far as it's concerned, he has pronounced the word. Now, this calls for attention. And then coordination. Now, the child, he may not be able to coordinate things like his peers. Let's say, for example, to catch a ball, you throw a ball at him, and then in his heart he has caught that ball, but physically he hasn't done that. And then the one that is more common is telling the difference between left and right. It's something that we say, okay, the children might outgrow it, but if you notice it persists, please seek help for that child. And then concentration. Now, a child with dyslexia often find it hard to concentrate. This may be because after a few minutes of struggling to read or write, they might feel mentally exhausted and may have attention deficient hyperactive disorder. That's ADHD. Now, research also shows that people with dyslexia, have 30% of them, they have ADHD. So after seeing all these symptoms, what do you do? Now, dyslexia, it affects each person differently, and most people find ways to accommodate their learning differences, and they try. Now, one thing that it is established is that it cannot be cured, but it can be managed. That is the good news about this thing. Now, if you're able to recognize a problem, I think that you're halfway to solving this problem. That's like you have the solution halfway. Now, if a teacher or a caregiver or a parent knows that this is the problem, it makes things a little bit easier. It explains why things are happening the way they are. Now, a point of warning is for us not to, label a child as a child having this condition when it has not been diagnosed. Yes, because it has a long way of marring that child's self-esteem and other issues that I may not want to discuss because of our time. So we should be careful to say that this child has dyslexia when it has not been medically proven. But hey, the good news is it can be managed. So it's not something that one should run away from it or shy away from it. So that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Please, if you have had any experience with someone who has dyslexia, or if you know of any other person, or you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. Thanks for listening and take care. So what is the first reaction when you hear a child using a